Bitcoin's about to confirm a bearish cross on a weekly time frame for the MACD, which is the moving average convergence divergence. This is a momentum indicator that indicates where the next move is potentially going to be happening for Bitcoin. We can look at the Bitcoin price and see that the last two times that we got a bearish MACD cross, we were met with negative price action towards the downside. So we need to be discussing if this is going to be the case. Are we going to be breaking down further from this rising wedge? Are we going to be breaking down further, repeating the January 2025 fractal? What's going to be happening next, especially since this signal is actually going to be confirming in the next few hours. So make sure to be staying tuned, as I have a lot of charts and a lot of data points prepared for you guys in terms of the September trap. We need to be discussing if September is going to be a very red month for Bitcoin, or are we going to be seeing something different. I also have data for Ethereum. We're going to be covering all the relevant levels and all the relevant data points and potential scenarios for the Ethereum price. So with that being said, let's not waste any time. Let's get straight away in towards this banger. Bow. Now for this up and coming week, we have a very jam-packed news week. As you can see, we have ISM manufacturing data coming out on Tuesday, and on Wednesday we have our JOLTS job opening data coming out. And on Thursday we have unemployment claims, we have further ISM data, and we have some non-farm employment change data coming out. And then on Friday we have our unemployment rate and our NFP numbers coming out also. So this is going to be a massive week in determining whether we're going to be getting a rate cut or not. If we look at the probabilities for a rate cut, at the minute it stands at 86.4%. And you can see that this is the most majority of the rate cut. So I think it's more likely we are going to be getting a rate cut. But this up and coming week is going to be very telling for what's going to be happening, since this data is going to massively skew the bias from the Fed, whether they're going to be taking into account that we need rate cuts or not. Because if the economy is doing really bad, then of course it potentially indicates that we need some further rate cuts or further action from the Fed. But if the economy is doing really well, then of course he's going to have to take other things into consideration and potentially wait. So we need to be just monitoring this in closer detail. Now moving on to the MACD, we can see that the previous two times as circled below when the histogram turned red, we had massive prolonged moves towards the downside now. So we need to be discussing whether this is going to be the case again, where we're going to have prolonged moves towards the downside. Are we going to be actually crashing further down towards the 92s and the 100k, or are we going to be holding here and moving towards the upside? Now I have a few charts prepared, but the rising wedge is another one that's actually confirmed, and we need to be actually indicating if this support level is going to hold or not, since we're actually trading at a level of support. So as you can see right here, I have this demand level actually mapped out, and you can see this previous high that was resistance before that's now turned into support is holding the Bitcoin price up at the minute, and we are trading within this falling wedge as I've drawn in this diagram over here. So you can see that if we actually can hold this level and we can break out of this falling wedge in the short term, it is likely we can get a little bit of a move towards the upside, since we're on some horizontal support. But it is not looking the best for Bitcoin right now, and we need to be deciphering what this means for the market. Now the reason it doesn't look the best for Bitcoin right now is the fact that we're heading into the month of September, and we can see on average the month of September gives us a return of negative 3.77%, and right now you can see most of the quadrants in the September column is actually red. So this is indicating that September might not be the best months, and we can actually dive into this deeper, looking at the post-halving years. So we can look at the 2017 year, and we can see that after August we had a negative 7.44% return, and we can look at 2021 and we can see that we had a negative 7.03% return. And if we dive into this deeper, we can actually see if this is going to be the case now, and we can look that in the post-halving year. So for 2017, we had a massively positive August before we had a negative September, and then we can see in 2021 we had a positive August with a 13.8% return before we had a negative September. However, for 2025, we can see that August is actually negative. So this indicates that potentially the trap is already played out. We've already got that negative price action towards the downside, and September may be positive. So although it doesn't look the best, like I was saying, since we have an average return of almost minus 4% for all of the Septembers, right now it looks like August is already red in the post-halving year, and September can actually be green. So for the bullish things that we can see for Bitcoin, we are trading on support, and we are trading within a bullish bias pattern, which is a falling wedge right now. So this pattern over here is a falling wedge, and typically you get those breaks towards the upside, especially when your previous move was upwards. So it's likely that if we do break this trend line, we can actually see a move back in towards our 117 to 120k mark. Now 117k is a key level, since we have our CME gap still open from our previous week. So of course we tried to fill it up during this week. However, we did not actually fill it up completely. So it is likely that Bitcoin can actually see a reversal and come and fill this gap given we break this trend line. On top of that, we can see that Bitcoin has grabbed all the downside liquidity and we have the majority of liquidity residing above us. And we know that Bitcoin always tries to fill the majority of the liquidity. So it's more likely that we can actually fill this liquidity towards the top side once we go and grab that liquidity above us, targeting that CME gap that we have at 117k. That's where the majority of liquidity actually resides. So it is acting like a magnet right now for Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is likely to continue to grab that liquidity and head towards this gap to fill it completely. We can also look at the seasonality for Bitcoin, and we can use 2023 and 2024 as an example. And in 2023 and in 2024, there were 2 years where you had Powell speaking at a Jackson Hole event, which led to a breakdown, which was the exact same scenario as this time, where we actually started to move downwards from the Jackson Hole speech. And in this scenario, you actually start to head down in towards September, and then once September actually strikes, that's where you get that massive reversal towards the upside. So it is likely that looking at the years 2023 and 2024, they were both red months for August. So you can see 2023 was negative 11.29% and 2024 was negative 8.6%. And then September for both of the years ended up green. So looking at the price action now, we can see that August is red for 2025, and it is likely that we can actually see a bullish September for 2025. So this is another reason that September can be bullish. So looking at the price action as well, every time you're falling a lower low in towards support, it is likely that Bitcoin actually moves towards the upside. So you can see we actually traded in towards support and we had a lower low structure in 2024, which led to a move towards the upside. And in 2025, we've done the same thing, testing the 2024 high, and that's where we had a massive move towards the upside. And you can see this continues to repeat over and over again, and this is the exact same scenario right now. So I think it's likely that we can actually see a move towards the upside since we're forming another lower low. And finally, the last reason I'm still bullish is the fact that we have 0 out of the 30 bull market peak indicators flashing a sell signal. All of them are indicating 100% hold, and they're all showing that Bitcoin is not yet topped out. There are some that are close, so I would not doubt that the bull market is not near the start, it's more near the end. However, none of them has actually flashed a red bearish signal. None of them is indicating that we should be selling. So I'm still remaining very, very bullish for this last part of the cycle. Now, the fact that we got a bearish MACD cross doesn't mean that we're going to completely move towards the downside. It is likely that we can actually start to consolidate here and at least see money flowing towards other coins. So it is likely that we may be seeing a channel form for Bitcoin where we start to just consolidate slightly and move towards the upside ever so slightly whilst the MACD continues to show momentum being lost. And that's essentially because of the money flow. Now, the money flow is currently in phase 2 where we're seeing Ethereum outperform Bitcoin. So we can see recently by the Ethereum price, we had a nice bounce from this key level that we covered on yesterday's video, and we're absolutely bouncing towards the upside already. So it looks like Ethereum is a lot stronger than Bitcoin right now, and I will not be fading this. I think the phase 2 is already starting and we're seeing Ethereum outperform. So Bitcoin is essentially going to be lagging and it's going to be losing momentum. So this bearish MACD course just indicates that money may be flowing into other assets like Ethereum. So looking at Ethereum's falling wedge, we can see that Ethereum is actually broken out from that falling wedge already, whilst Bitcoin hasn't, indicating again that we have Ethereum is a lot stronger than Bitcoin. It's already broken from its falling wedge, and it may be actually telling us the signs. It may be telling us where Bitcoin is heading. So you can see Ethereum is actually broken out already. However, Bitcoin hasn't yet just broken out. So this may be a sign that Bitcoin is likely to break towards the upside here, and Ethereum has already done that and is ready to actually continue to move towards the upside here. We also have Ethereum testing our previous highs, and it is likely that we can actually break this high eventually. It just depends whether we're going to get a consolidation before we actually move towards the upside, or are we just going to smash through this level. So I think that this up and coming week is going to be very telling to where the direction for September can be, and it may indicate that we may see some sort of a consolidation if the news is bad. But if the news is good, I do think that Ethereum has legs to move towards the upside again. The reason I say that is if we zoom in, we can see that we've tested that high twice already. So it is likely that on the next time we test it, we can actually shatter this resistance and move towards the upside. But the worst case scenario would be that we consolidate a little bit more before we actually move towards the upside in September. But in the larger time frame, on a monthly time frame, we can see that Ethereum has had a bullish MACD cross. So I'm still remaining bullish on Ethereum. I think the phase 2 is in full effect, where we're seeing on the monthly time frame, Ethereum is having a bullish cross on a MACD, but Bitcoin is having a bearish cross on a weekly time frame for the MACD, which is indicating that money is flowing in towards Ethereum as opposed to Bitcoin. So I'm not going to be fading this. I still think that Ethereum is actually massively undervalued and it's going to be trading a lot higher. So if I were you, I'll be taking positions in Ethereum. I will not be fading what's going to be happening. We're seeing large investors actually accumulating whilst retail dumps. So again, I will not be fading this. I'll be thinking Ethereum is the next asset that's going to be seeing massive inflows. We're seeing the Bitcoin dominance declining whilst Ethereum is pumping towards the upside, indicating and proving that this money flow is in full effect. So if you want to be taking some positions and you want to be taking advantage, make sure to check that first link down below for Bit2Next. That first link down below for Bit2Next is going to take you to this page over here. This page over here is essentially Bit2Next showing you guys that the community has got a massive deposit bonus of 20%. So you can see if you deposit $2,000, you get up to $400 for free money to be trading with. That's a $400 bonus on your deposit. So you can see this is a massive opportunity. So you can see your first trade you can get from $10 to even $500 in bonuses using my first link down below. So make sure to be checking that out, since you have until now to the 19th of September to actually claim this bonus. So I will not be fading this. That's the first link down below for Bit2Next. This is a non-KYC exchange with extremely cheap fees. So in my opinion, I will not be fading this. This is a massive opportunity for you guys to be accumulating on this massive run that's about to be happening on your altcoins. So that'll be it for me. Make sure to be following me on X to be staying up to date with all my updates over here. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a blessed rest of your day. Peace, guys. See ya. Bye-bye.